Okay, happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome to another session of InfinityX, where we give a stage and microphone to human excellence in the pursuit of creating infinite sales opportunities by introducing megapreneurs to merge ecosystems and to create opportunity for additional sales appointments. From the hallowed halls of Epic Financial Strategies podcast studio, we are InfinityX. We come at you every Tuesday, and in the pursuit of human excellence, I would be remiss if I didn't say that we have a stage and microphone tonight with absolute human excellence. We are joined by the CEO of Make Sales Great Again, Mr. Todd Speciale. Todd, what's up, brother? How are you tonight, my friend?
Hey, I couldn't be happier to be here, man. Thanks for having me on board, and I'm excited about what tonight's going to offer people.
Me too. Me too. And for those of you who are entrepreneurs running businesses, you have to follow Todd on social media, on Instagram, on the Gut Check Uncut podcast. He's doing massive things and he's got a great message. And, Todd, success leaves clues, right? And I always love to get to know the individual and the individual journey, because I think that it speaks such volumes about the person that you stand as today. So if you wouldn't mind, just share with us a little bit about, where you're from, where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so I was born in upstate New York in Rochester, and I moved to Missouri for about 8 years. They call it misery for a reason. Please don't move there if you aren't from there. But I'm a New Yorker through and through, man. I moved out to Florida in 1998. And my life is I don't have any more of a special story, if you will, than anybody else. I truly believe that everybody's story is equally relevant. And but me, I grew up a little differently, man. I grew up in the streets, and my parents I always say were super rich in love. They weren't didn't have a ton of money, and we grew up in humble beginnings. But I was selling vacuum sweepers door to door until one day I walked by a pool hall at 15 years old, and my mother had breast cancer. My dad, had a dream of opening up a food truck and had the entrepreneurial mindset, just never got it going. And I walked by a pool hall one day and I saw a ton of cash on a table. And I said, well, shit, I got to learn how to gamble and make some money. So I walked in the pool hall at 15 years old. And, by 17, I was winning tournaments pretty much all across the state of Missouri. I was driving to Kansas City and Jefferson City, and I was playing games like cribbage and pinochle and tonk. And, grew up playing just about everything, every card game there was, and realized that pool was geometry and winning at gambling is just simple math. So I got really good at math. But a lot of people ask me, where did you learn to negotiate and sell so good? Well, I have no college degree, wasn't the smartest guy in high school, but I learned the art of negotiation and sales in a pool hall at a very young age. If I'm better than you at pool or a game, we have to negotiate what's called weight. And weight just is like a handicap. It helps people kind of even out the bet, and that the street name for that is called weight. Yep. So I had to negotiate with you, Dave, if you were worse than me at pool, to make you believe it was a really good opportunity to play me. But I knew that I had the winning hand, if you will, right?
God, I would have been easy prey because I really suck at pool, bro.
Well, it's funny because my mother ran Brunswick bowling centers for years, and I always laugh at this joke when I get on stage. People say, "Well, what were you good at?" Well, I bowled, I played pool, I was really good at card games, math, and numbers. And everybody says, well, do you have any records on anything? Well, I do have 23 sanctioned 300 perfect bowling games. I was on pool for a while. And people go, well, dude, how'd you get your wife? And I said, well, it's easy. I mean, I just told her I was a professional bowler. I mean, if that was I don't know what will, right?
I'm a professional athlete, right? It creates some relationship capital, right?
8 million of us, and I'm in the Bowling Hall of Fame in the computer, but
yeah. But for those of you who don't know, by the way, a 300 bowling, I think my best score ever is about a 120, right? So a 300 is pretty much like next level good,
well, I would go there after school, and at a very young age, and not to get too deep into like bowling and the pool hall scene, but I realized very quickly that I was competitive in everything. And I'm a perfectionist. When I start something, I want to be the best at it, right? Yeah. I'm 45 years old today. I still have that same mindset. I rush thoroughly into things. I have my account parts that kind of balance me out. I'm the guy that wants to run through the wall, but I have very, I would say, sound business partners that really kind of hold me to my strengths, right? Stay in your lane, if you will. But yeah, man, I grew up in a pool hall. I grew up on the streets, and I was playing dice in the streets, the card games, pretty much everything. Which I personally believe, it's my humble opinion, that that was the best education that I could have ever gotten. So
yeah, I couldn't agree more. I was, we are a one-stop shop financial planning services firm called Epic Financial Strategies and Epic Wealth Management. And I was having a conversation, Todd, just before with a young individual who was introduced to us from another ecosystem, and he's 23 years old and is still in school and was afforded, fortunately for him, a substantial amount of wealth gifted to him at a relatively young age. And it's created for him some opportunity for himself, right? But he is still in college, and he was telling me how, higher education today does, it doesn't. It was the thing that we did when we were younger. You know what I mean? You went to high school or you went to college just because that was the thing to do. But in today's world, people are questioning that because the higher education is not teaching you what you need preparation for in industries like yours and in industries like ours, right? The street and or the living room and being live is the best education that you'll ever get. I have a question for you. So I love that you're from Rochester, brother. That's where my father originally is from. My grandfather, I don't know if you know the law firm Harder Seacrest. I don't know if you've heard of that. It was based up in Rochester, and their biggest client was the Strong Foundation and Marge Strong. My grandfather unfortunately passed away at a relatively young age, but he always said that he always shared with my father that one of the things that was his biggest regrets is that he didn't do more, that he didn't take more chances, right? Had opportunities, but didn't take more chances. And I've heard that time and time and time again. And as you were coming up, right, and as you were learning, obviously not only the pool game, but also really the entrepreneurial game, what were some of the tough lessons that you learned at a young age that you look back and you say, wow, that really shaped me for being the killer, not only sales coach, trainer, but individual that you are now?
Yeah, so good question. I've been asked this question before, and I will tell you, the common response is, losing allowed me to learn how to win, right? So
yeah.
Going to pool hall, I'm 15, almost 16 years old. I'm getting about $25 a week, $5 a day for lunch money. I know some of you kids that are listening to this are going to go, well, holy shit, how'd you live? Back then, that was money, right? So I would save literally $25 a week. I'd walk into a pool hall as a fun fact. I play pool left-handed, but I'm right-handed. I didn't know how to hold the pool stick.
You were that guy, right? That's like the guy who plays baseball that bats lefty but throws righty, right?
Yeah. But the truth was I didn't know how to hold the pool stick. So, going in there, I would constantly lose every single week. And the guys in the pool would laugh at me. They come in, they go, dude, you're 16 years old. You're losing $25 a week, $100 a month. You come in here and you play one set, which is a race to 5, whoever wins 5 games first for $25. If I won, I kept playing. If I lost, I had to wait another week to be able to come back to gamble again because I had no money. Yeah. So I was like eating friends' leftovers and all that other shit, So the hard lesson was learning how to capitalize on losses, right? A lot of people, call them losses because that seems to be the common answer. For me, I don't call anything a loss. I call it a learning moment, right? Absolutely. And I realized that later in life, that loss is not a loss. People say you got to lose to win. I don't believe you ever lose if you keep trying, right? Losing is just education. It's really creating that mindset that's going to allow you to become, that strong person that that you're capable of becoming. But people confuse loss with education, right? So we talk about what brought me up. Dude, I was 17 years old when I graduated high school. I was dropped off from Missouri with a person that lived in a duplex next to my parents and I in Ackworth, Georgia, to sell Bibles door to door, right?
Wow.
And they dropped me off in a location at a gas station. I was living with a foster family. Like, my parents weren't wealthy by any means, but the deal was there was an old guy named Mort Utley who used to run a sales and business school where they said they would teach you the art of sales and success if you just sold books, and they would do it for you for free. So I started knocking doors, and I realized very quickly that I was horrendous at sales, right? I was not good. Didn't know what I was doing. But the truth is, one of the most difficult times of my life really shaped me to become the person I am today. And as I was staying at this foster family's home, they were supposed to be feeding me. Now, the school would pay the foster family to keep me in a room, right? Like they're giving me a place to stay, if you will.
Yeah.
The family would get money. They're supposed to feed me. This family was horrible. They never gave me any food, never anything. And I literally had about $27 to my name when I went to Ackworth, which I'm sure you can know that went very quickly.
Yeah.
And in the old days, they didn't allow us to take a check, and their sure shit wasn't credit card machines. So, yep. I mean, they didn't allow us to take cash, and their sure shit wasn't credit card machines. So we had to take a check. So it's not like I had any opportunity to get cash. So not proud of this, but at 17 years old, just to eat, I was going into grocery stores and stealing ham packets and turkey packets just because I couldn't eat. And the crazy thing was, the most tough part, I believe, of my childhood was when I would call my parents collect. For those of you that are younger, calling on a payphone, they could actually accept a phone call and charge your phone bill. But I would call them collect, and my parents, I would hear them, they were crying on the phone because they couldn't afford to drive from Missouri to Atlanta to come pick up their son, who they know is suffering and stealing food to eat. So I called a couple girlfriends of mine, did what I did best. I sold them to get in their car, drive down to Ackworth, Georgia, pick me up and bring me home. But dude, it was a rough time, but it really shaped me. So the hard times, you know, my mentor, Danelle Delgado, who's a champion, right? She always says the hard makes you strong. I have lived by that my entire life. The hard doesn't mean loss. The hard is just educating you on how to be strong. And I do want to kind of add what you said to the college degree. Look, it's not a bad thing to have a college degree. It's not a horrible thing to go to college and education. I know that's not what you meant, but here's what I would tell people. My thought process in college is this: if you want to be a molecular engineer, if you will, right? Go to school for a specific thing, but don't go to school for a business degree. You know, don't go to school for some broad ass degree, because I've got friends of mine that swore they wanted to be attorneys, and this is no disrespect to anybody who has a business degree out there, but I'm sure they can tell you, and other people will tell you, that the majority of people go for just random degrees just to say they have a college education. They're the ones struggling. Yes. So I partnered with a company called Apex Roofing, which I'm the chief sales officer for. And Apex, the owner of Apex, is an unbelievable guy. The CEO and owner, just two amazing individuals. And what really made the decision for me to partner with these guys and be a part of their unbelievable company is that the owner says, I've made more money than I can ever make. He's younger than me. He's 40 years old, I believe. He's a brilliant human being. But one of the cool things that he said to me, which really kind of sold me on the opportunity to work with them, was the fact that he said, man, I've made so much money in my life that I could just retire and relax and just kick back, right? He goes, but I remember telling me, I remember talking to my wife, and I felt so unfulfilled. Because when people tell you that money don't make you happy, they're lying. It's way easier to live with money than it is without it. You guys know in the financial industry. Yep. That being said, he goes, now that I've earned it, what am I to do now? Am I just going to vacation? He goes, I want to impact lives.
Yes.
He told me 2 years from now, he wanted me to help him create, and the company create, like a university, if you will, to kind of shape people's lives. He goes, I want to teach people the art of financial literacy. He goes, I want to teach them how to sell. You know, and it's funny that we say this, because I was speaking at an event, not the same event, but another event in near Harvard University. And there's a cool story about, Warren Buffett, who was on stage, and he was speaking to all the Harvard grads. Yeah. And he said, look, I'm going to do about a 45-minute keynote. When I get done speaking, I'm going to let 20 people top in the class ask me a question. And he said, and to fast forward, he got done with the event. The last person asked a question is valedictorian of Harvard University. And the question that was asked was, I know that I have this amazing degree and I have all of this education. What is the one real world skill that I'll need in order to put this thing to work and really win at life? And Warren Buffett's answer was, you need to learn how to sell.
I love that. Yes.
And he sat back and he goes, and a lot of people are like, dude, I'm a Harvard grad. I spent $500,000 on my education. I'm brilliant. I know shit that other people don't know. Yep. Well, guess what? People that know how to sell no shit that you don't know. Just because you're educated, a lot of people says I'm not in sales. Dude, you've been in sales your entire life. I mean, Victor Antonio, I want to give credit for this. He's one of the best sales trainers on the planet. I had him on my podcast and he goes, dude, when you're a baby and you're crying, you're selling. When you're 16 and you want to use mom's car and I'll clean the room, you're selling, right? When you go to an interview, you're selling yourself, right? Everybody is in sales. They just may not know it. But it's the real world skill that you need to have. And Apex is a company that wants to give people that platform where they can actually learn and choose college or choose Apex. And I'd like to just give Grant, the owner of Apex, and Aaron, these guys that run this company, a huge shout out, because they're looking to really shape lives and give them the skills that college does not teach you. And that's really the biggest takeaway from me and my growth, for sure.
Incredible golden nuggets, guys. So this is Todd Speciale. The podcast is Gut Check Uncut. He's the CEO of Make Sales Great Again, which we're going to hit on in a couple moments. The chief sales officer at Apex. Is it restoration and roofing, Todd?
Yeah, roofing and restoration. Yes,
roofing and restoration. So talk to me about how that opportunity found you, right? Because you're in a spot where you're in a spot and you're in Georgia, you're selling Bibles door to door, which is hard as hell, and listen, any type of door to door sales hardens you beyond belief, right? I don't care if you're selling solar, if you're selling Bibles, whatever it is, there's no greater challenge in sales than doing it door to door. But how did Apex come into your world, and what did it? What was your acclimation into the company like? When did you really start to turn the corner on being a good to great salesman?
Yeah, so I tell people two things to be the best at sales these days is honesty and integrity. That's it.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
There are so many people in the world today who lie to earn a living in sales, and they're not great closers, they're not great salespeople, they're great liars. Okay, there is a massive difference. Apex was an unbelievable opportunity. To be honest with you, I hope I die Apex because of the brand and the people and everything else. They're just an unbelievable organization. But I will tell you this, it's funny where you get an opportunity to work with someone. I always say you work with people, not for them. I hate the term work for people. No one works for anybody. I also hate titles. Chief sales officer, CEO. Well, you got to have a title. It's Todd and David. It's Todd and Stefan. It's Todd and Jim. It's Todd and Klaus, right? That's all it is. Titles mean nothing. But when that opportunity arose, it was because of two things. One, I had a really, really good friend who was in my wedding, who was already working for Apex, who kind of mentioned to me, there was an opportunity there. They wanted to talk to me, and I thought it was just for consulting to Make Sales Great Again. It was never an interview. It was never a job opportunity. It was really just to kind of go in there, talk to them, help their company scale, do what I do best, right? Number insurance companies, car sales, et cetera. But then the owner, flew into town. We sat with him and his entire team, and it was about a 4.5 month long process before we finally negotiated proper terms and where everybody wanted to be happy and move forward with this company. So it was through a multitude of social media, like-minded relationships, and it was funny. It's such a small world that you could have someone in. I mean, when I got into timeshare, I had someone that was in China that looked at my social media who moved back to Orlando, who I actually did some work with. So it was a massive reach between social media and just some compatibility that really worked out.
And from a social media perspective, when did you start to see? Well, first of all, when did you identify that marketing, because you got about almost 50,000 followers on Instagram, right? And then, YouTube and all the other platforms that you have. Talk a little bit about when you discovered that social media based marketing for Make Sales Great Again and for your brand was going to be something that was going to be a major focal point for you, but then also spend a little bit of time, if you could, sharing about what your strategy was, because, listen, if you go into any business, you have to map out a game plan. You have to have a strategy for it. Social media is no different. It's a business by itself. So spend a little bit of time, if you could, talking to us about what you did to build out that strategy and moving into social media.
Sure. Yeah. So you're right. The biggest mistake that I've ever made when it comes to marketing social media is not having a strategy. So you really nailed it, right? It's funny, when I started writing motivational posts, my dad passed away in 2017 and he was my hero, right? Still is my hero in heaven. And I was writing a book, and the story is talked about a lot, but I was writing a book and I was just procrastinating like everybody else. I wrote the book, Things I Do Know, and it was just a mindset for development of success. And then I wrote another book for the timeshare industry, which was just a guide to success to keep them on track. And I remember I was just procrastinating. My dad, was laying on his deathbed one day, and he basically said to me, he said, "Hey, Todd, I want you to write the book and finish it. I want you to speak," which I've never spoken on stage before. I'd spoken for a lot of sales teams and organizations I worked for. Notice I said for, not with, which is the reason why I got out of them, right?
Yes.
Because there's a difference between working for and working with someone, right?
Totally.
And, he said, "I want you to tell the story and how you grew up, and I want you to really impact lives." So I'm going to tell a very long story short, but it's crazy how something so catastrophic has to happen in our lives in order for us to change who we are, right? Or at least light a fire under us. It's like your life can be going in all these great directions. And isn't it funny how one thing happens and you're like, woe is me, my life sucks, it's all over again. You forget about all the good shit in your life, right?
Amen.
Like having clothes on the table, people to come home to, TV to watch. We forget about all those little things. So not having a strategy when I got in this was going gun ho. Fast forward, my dad died. I wrote my book in 30 days. It went Amazon bestseller for about 9.5 months. It was really cool. It was up there with the Cardone and top secrets to marketing success, which I had no clue about, which was really cool. I put my own speaking event together, which was 300 people that were really just friends and family supporting me. It wasn't really people buying tickets. I lost my ass on it because I didn't have an action plan. But it's funny, when I started motivational posts, it was with zero gauge on how it was going to impact lives. I didn't know. So I remember I was the guy that was, and before I started, this is 2007, 8-ish, whatever, that was getting wasted, drunk downtown, punching people and fighting back like an idiot. That was me. Right?
Yeah.
And I remember the first motivational post that I posted. I remember getting messages on Facebook Messenger, and it was like, "Todd, this is not you." Like, what?
Like, who are you and what have you done with Todd? Right?
You're like, you're not a motivational guy. Like, what? You're just full of shit. Like, take that post down, right? And then I realized about 30 days later, I continued to just keep doing it. And I started doing it for my sales team in the timeshare industry. And I started like really just trying to do it to motivate them. And I would tag them. And I got a message about 45 days in, and someone reached out to me and she goes, "Todd, I haven't spoken to you in 20 years. So we went to high school together in Missouri. But one of your motivational posts I read, and I need you to know that I was getting ready to commit suicide."
Whoa.
And I read your post, and I get the chills even now talking about it. She goes, "I read your post, and you need to know you saved my life." So from that point forward, without a guide to putting money in my pocket and putting people first, I realized the action plan was sometimes it's okay not to have the action plan. Sometimes it's okay just to do things to touch lives, and that's what I wanted to do. And if it was just that one life that I impacted, I was going to continue to do it. So I started posting motivational posts, and I started wasting a shit ton of money on marketing because I didn't know how to do it. I started posting ads. I started doing everything. It just didn't pan out. So I would tell anybody that if you're looking to really just kind of scale your social media, it needs to be done organically. Don't buy fake followers. It does nothing for you. The fake it till you make it bullshit is just irrelevant. Yep. But you need to get someone that's good at that. And that's what I did. So I hired a PR team and I hired some people to kind of help me scale that. But I've always posted. I've got a girl that helps me out now with Gut Check Uncut. She helps post on our Gut Check Uncut Instagram page that we just opened a couple months back. And she does post a few things for me, but 97% of everything I post is still myself. Yep. And I do it because I want people to know that it's coming from me. So you got to market right. Get someone to help you if you don't know how to do it. But you can't make money. I want to be very clear. You can't make money without marketing that gets you leads in order to create sales.
Unbelievable.
Salespeople are going to go where the leads are. They're not going to go where, the commission's the highest. You can tell me you're going to pay me 100% commission. If you've got no leads and there's no opportunity, there's no reason to work with you. Okay. I'd rather make 20% and have the leads come in day in and day out. And there's a lot of companies that make mistakes that way. So mastering marketing and the sales process was huge. But to get back to sales, the integrity and the honesty portion of it is why I created Make Sales Great Again. There are way too many companies lying to people. The salesman kind of mentality was for people that weren't in sales. If you said I'm in sales, they look down on you. Like for instance, Dave, if I asked you, what is the worst title you could have in the sales industry? Like, is it insurance, car sales, timeshare? Like, what do you think it is?
Insurance salesman.
Insurance salesman, probably.
Insurance
Right?
salesman?
Yeah.
Okay. It's close. It's probably up in the top 3. But the number one to date, as of right now, worst title to hold in the sales industry is used car salesman.
Yeah.
That's the worst one to have, right? And you know what I tell people? I tell them that's because they haven't met a timeshare salesperson yet. Because there are people that are just blatantly stealing from people, and they're putting them on these $100,000 programs and 19-20%. They're blatantly robbing people. And there's a lot of people that do the things the right way. But you want sales to stick. Just create an honesty and integrity platform where people want to work with you, because people don't expect honesty anymore. They expect people to lie. And when you're honest and you're upfront with them, and you'll get more sales by telling people what your product or service won't do than what it will. And that's honesty, and that's how you create a sales platform that's going to scale.
The golden nuggets in that were I don't have enough pen and paste paper to write down all the different takeaways that we had from that. But Todd, this is the stars really aligned here, because I want to introduce you to my partner, Rob Gill. So Rob is the founder of Epic Financial Strategies. Rob is an absolute master in integrity-based human influence. But he also has built a social media presence that is real, raw dog, and this man will never not be him. And that is something that I think has really, really helped to grow his brand. But it's what the things that you were just sharing, I'm sitting here thinking about my partner the entire time. So Rob, I'm going to turn it over to you and allow you to get acclimated with Todd.
Yeah, Todd, listen, I love your energy, by the way, just hearing you as I just stepped in a couple of minutes ago. Infectious energy, no doubt about it. Voice tonality off the charts.
Thank you.
And being able to speak about, having sales as, being a birthright, and sales is sexy, right? So it doesn't have to have a dirty word, right? And when it comes to, hearing you out and you're building out your different platforms, I thought I heard you mention Instagram most recently. I love the fact that you had a 300-person family and friends event that was for the people that loved you. And I love the fact that as I'm hearing you, you failed upwards and learned everything what not to do. That's what I'm understanding it right now.
Yes, sir.
What I really enjoyed was when you kind of spoke about like the toughest industries in sales, and just being yourself, and obviously the story about the person from high school is an incredible testimony. Just unbelievable to be able to have that gift and use this platform, because I know a lot of times, in the past, before we actually had a structure, we used to post and pray. But now we post with a purpose. And to your point, I think that all the different strategies and how you could take all the different platforms, integrate and coordinate them into your messaging and being authentic and your real self is always going to win the day over the long term. Success leaves clues. I had the good fortune Thursday night of speaking in a gala in New York City. My partner, I'm not sure if you're familiar with a gentleman by the name of Sean Callaghy. He's the founder of Unblinded. No. It's a peak performance coaching company for corporate executives on really how to go from hello to yes with integrity. And I knew Sean before he started that. And he's a partner here in our financial planning practice. But he's on a mission, a lot of stuff that you're sharing he would love. And he gave me the ability to introduce him in front of this is meaningful to us in New York City area. I'm not really sure how old you are, but I was able to introduce him in front of Lawrence Taylor, New York Giants legend, Harry Carson, Eric Dickerson, Rex Ryan. There was 300 people in the room.
Clemens.
Roger Clemens, that was unreal. Lee Steinberg, who's the #1 sports agent in the country. He's what Jerry Maguire, the movie, was about.
I spoke on stage with Lee. And I've met Roger a couple of times. They're both great people, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I sat next to Lee for 30 minutes, you know what I mean? And got his number and everything. I'm going to a Super Bowl party. And Roger is, doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes with my partner, Sean. The point is that only happened because of integrity. And it's been a slow role for us. I mean, we met Sean in 2017, it's 2021 right now. And along the way, we've been able to merge ecosystems with like-minded individuals. And part of our success has been one of our other partners, Chris Crone. He's a top 20 YouTube worldwide influencer, big real estate peak performance coach, strategist, really a phenomenal entrepreneur. But he began to put us on his channel, and we just created financial education conversations. And trust me, when you look at life insurance, people have to contemplate their own death. So I like to change the words, and instead of saying passing away, we say, as Shakespeare once said, shuffle off this mortal coil. So that's how we've been able to use the words to work in our favor. But a lot of folks out there that are listening right now, that watch us often, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head when you're talking about, in the space of social media, it takes time, TIME, things I must earn. There's no overnight success, and being genuine is the realest thing. So I'm going to ask for because now I want to be coached by you. I'm going to ask you about your PR relationship and how that changed everything from a social media perspective.
Yeah, so it was really just a massive vetting process, because there's so many people in the sales world who will pitch something that they think is valuable so they can just get the cash, right?
Yep.
And I did consulting for insurance company. I took their company from 6 reps to 134 agents in 4 months. We really scaled the team. That was all done through just integrity-based sales process. But
what, if you don't mind, hold on a second. When did you do? Incredible, unbelievable. Yeah. When did you do that? Just curious.
Last year.
So what kind of, wow. And were you bringing on agents or like
agents? Yeah.
What type of insurance company was it?
Life insurance. Yeah. It was with American Income Life.
6 to 130. That's incredible. That is unbelievable. I think, now let me ask you this, in that space, what you just described, and I'm not saying this wasn't the case, I'm trying to create something right here live on Facebook. Sure. In that space, if that company had solved for leads for these folks that you were bringing in that came through a conditioned pipeline, I'll call it, that came to wanting to have a conversation with the agent in a peak state, ready to listen to the good message. If you had that, as well as what you coach and train, what would it look like? So for example, if I said to you, hey, we have 2,000 leads coming in a month, and these aren't cold leads, these are people that want to hear the good message about overall planning, and we only have 20 agents right now, we need 40 or 50, how would that change your metric?
Yeah. So look, it's funny, building sales teams is easier than people think. And people think there's some magic sauce, and there really isn't, right? What you can't control is what the companies do when you build the sales teams, and then your kind of consulting gig is done, right? It's their job to hold on to those reps. And there are a lot of companies out there that are just great companies, but just don't know how to manage. And leads, as we know, is a very important thing. The biggest problem, just to be clear, with leads is that, you don't want people to become lead junkies either, right? The sales process is about pulling referrals and guaranteeing that you teach them how to pull referrals. And in the insurance business, as you guys know, referrals is just huge. And you're going to, when you are cold calling, and that's what this company was, they said they would provide leads, but a lot of leads that they would provide weren't great leads. It was just a name and a phone number. To me, it's like when I was selling vacuum sweepers door to door, we used to open up the phone book. That's cold calling. We just go down. For those of you that are young, the phone book's gone now, but it used to be this big. Yep. We used to call through it. But I can scale 20 to 50 in any industry very quickly, but it's just through holding the leaders accountability for recruiting and just creating a platform that gives people an opportunity the right way. It's also working with leaders who believe and actually care about these people from a very personal standpoint. Forget the business and forget the profit.
Yep.
Profit to me is in impacting lives. You want to keep someone long-term in an organization, show them that you actually give a shit about who they are.
Yes.
And there's not really, I can teach the best to be masters at sales. Okay. I can teach anybody to sell. Anybody can learn how to sell. I don't care what anybody says. Yes. You said it earlier, voice tonality, all that stuff is going to make a difference in how good they are.
Yep.
We can teach that for the most part. Yep. What's very hard to do is to keep people on the straight and narrow. And in the financial industry, I think it was you that said insurance agent that might have been the #1 worst name. They're pretty close. because there are a lot of people out there pitching, let's call, for those of you that aren't in the insurance business, a non-par standard whole life policy, right? It's not attached to the S&P. It's not attached to the stock market. It's not attached to any bullshit, right? It's just probably one of the worst products to offer out there, but it's something that companies sell, right? And it's expensive compared to other like IULs and stuff like that are online. But when you're looking at the opportunity to sell this product, there are people saying that it is attached and you're going to get X amount of dollars back and they're going to pay you this monthly and yearly and like pitching it as a dividend. And that to me just makes people just the slimiest piece of shit on the planet, right? You got to pitch what the product does. If you're selling a product that you don't believe in, number one, get out of that business. You gotta believe in it. Okay. So when you're talking about scaling people from 20 to 50, there's a lot of metrics that go into that, right? It's culture. I believe culture and leadership is the most important thing that any company could have. You want to work with a leader, not a boss. There's a massive difference. I'm sure that's regurgitated 8,000 different ways, but it's also very true. I'm a huge Simon Sinek fan, and he talks about leadership. And, when I've been on stage, when I was in LA, with Steinbrenner, it was one of the first stages I was ever on. And I remember getting on, this guy calls me and he says, man, you're going to be on stage with Ashton Kutcher and Ty Lopez and Jack Canfield and Steinbrenner and all these guys. And the only event that I had done was the one in Orlando, which I put on for myself. So I'm like, I get a phone call. I was like, you're going to be on with Ashton Kutcher. I'm like, am I getting punked? And I hung up on the guy, right? Like why do you want Todd Special, right? Who is Todd Special? Because no one knew my name. But when I got out there, and it was my wife's birthday, 2018, I flew out there and she says, babe, you got to go. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. I remember getting on stage and I was about like the 9th or 10th speaker there. I was had a few vodkas, if you will. But what I realized quickly is that there are people that say they're leaders and that preach leadership and get on stage about leadership, and they don't really practice what they preach. There's a lot of people that talk a big game as leaders and they ruin companies. And when you talk about the metrics of scaling teams from 20 to 40 or to 50 or 60, or from 6 to 134, which we did in 4 months, it was holding people for, accountable for recruiting and then selling the right way. So if you're working with a company, number one, that you don't believe in the product, you don't believe in leaders, you need to run quick. Yep. You're never going to scale it. You're never going to be successful. And you need to know that they have your back. Number two, if you want to scale a team based on opportunity for leads, vet a company, man. I mean, if you're talking about the insurance industry, which I know very well, and you talk about lead generation, you're right. For those of you that are in the insurance industry and that you're listening right now, there's a lot of people that give shitty leads, and they are like cold calling. They tell you it's a lead and it's not one. And they're in the lead business. Let me tell you something. It's about the shadiest business on the planet. I mean, there's a lot of companies that resell you leads that they've already paid for 13 times just for their agents, and they're getting screwed. It's not okay. But so when you're building that team and you're scaling, I know kind of a long answer, but from 20 to 40 or 60, you got to give good leads. You got to give opportunity. When the ROI is there and you create a culture and environment that's conducive of building leaders and actually wanting people to win, you can't lose if the leads are good.
Yeah, it's funny because if you think of a farm system in baseball, we've created a farm system organically of leads that come in the door for us. We're averaging anywhere between 30 and 40 a day through the different platforms that we have that come from the ecosystems that we're connected to. For example, I'll give you a quick example. Let's say you and I sat down and we formed a partnership because, we understand how to do proper planning, not just from an insurance perspective, but right down the hall, we have our own registered investment advisory. Myself and David aren't fiduciaries, but we have a bunch of them down the hall on the wealth management side. And then when you look at the wealth management and then you factor it into how does insurance, whether it's an IUL, whether it's whole life, plays in there. And yes, if anyone's going to pitch life insurance, a whole life as an investment with a dividend versus a Swiss Army knife strategy that allows you leverage, liquidity, and control, two separate conversations. We've created the culture on how to do that, including having the leads come in. Here's the challenge. The people that work with me right now, we went from 6 to 22, from number 7 to 22. I didn't recruit one person. Every single person that works here recruited me to recruit them. That's what's happening. So for example, let's say you, Todd Special, I don't know what your community looks like. I'm just going to use a number just to kind of throw this out there. Let's say you have a community that believes in you and they watch your stuff and they love your content and everything you bring is value. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, listen, I like Tony Robbins, who formed a partnership back in 2016 with creative planning, just formed a partnership with a company called Epic Financial Strategies. They have two other partners. One is Chris Crone, one is Sean Callaghy. These guys and gals are up and coming. They're in the space of financial education. And I want to offer them to you free value from an education standpoint. If you and I shot videos together and we got our messaging in order, what would happen based on your community, all of a sudden organically, there would be appointments that come through our door. What we're experts at is taking those appointments from hello to yes with integrity through a success process. And that's been our secret model, how we've gone from 8 to 600 to 800 new sales meetings a month throughout COVID. And by the end of the year, based on a couple other things hitting, we think we're going to be over 2,000 leads a month.
That's awesome, brother. Congratulations. That's pretty cool.
Thank you, man. And I think that what I'm sharing with you is what I don't have is what you just described. I don't have the recruitment model. We have good leaders, we have good culture, we have good DNA. Like everything here is on point. The messaging is there, but we don't have what you just described. That's
yeah.
What
so the recruiting, is something that a lot of people have kind of hired Make Sales Great Again, myself and my partner to come in and do. And the recruiting's, dude, it's really just holding people accountable. It's having hiring events, and people think that they have to be some large extravagant thing. Man, you could hire 20 people by spending $150. And people are like, how is that even possible? It's just a process that we follow to help companies scale. And we've done it in timeshare, we've done it in car sales, we've done it in insurance, we've done it in roofing. And it's really just building a team platform that proves that it can be done. Like again, when I had the luxury of working with Apex and hopefully I will forever. But I can say I'm Todd Speciale, and I believe that I'm the best at sales. I believe that I'm one of the best leaders, and I believe this. It's not ego. That's just what I know that I'm good at, right?
Understood. Like gravity, you understand who you are as a salesperson.
Amen. Yes, sir. And it's funny because when you take a platform where there's opportunity and you combine it with education that I've had from streets, negotiation, the art of sales, and you do it from an honesty, integrity-based platform, it allows you opportunity and your company to scale, because people, again, want to work with you. They don't want to feel like they work for you. I've got 18-year-old kids making $2,000 a week that are selling roofs right now, and they're loving it, right? And there's people that really see the opportunity in what this company has to offer, but it doesn't have to be roofs. It doesn't have to be car sales. It doesn't have to be timeshare. It doesn't have to be insurance. You create an environment and a culture, fun morning meetings, giving people recognition. I can't tell you how many times people say, well, I'm not in it for the recognition. I just want the money. It's funny. They're the biggest complainers that when they don't get recognized, right? Like, I just need the money. And then you recognize somebody else and they go, dude, where's my trophy? Like, what are you talking about, right? And we know this to be true in sales. So recognition, leadership, knowing that titles don't matter and that you're willing to give them as much effort as they're willing to give you. There has to be equal accountability. And when it comes from a recruiting standpoint, dude, it's funny. People won't believe it until you do it. And just like me, again, I can say I'm the best leader and I can say I'm the best at sales. But Grant, Aaron, the owners of this company and the people that really just took Apex to another level, they negotiated an offer, and I said, okay, I came in. But let me tell you something. If I don't produce, then I'm just another fake. If I don't produce, and I was just really good at selling and telling them and misleading, if you will, what my capabilities were. People these days have that millennial mindset. They want the $1 million and they want it tomorrow. Yeah. And there is no substitution for hard work and effort. So I remember when we were negotiating, I said, listen, I don't need anything extra. I said, what I bring and what my company will bring, and what I personally always say is that proof is in your effort. Your effort's what's going to give you the job. I know we've heard the saying, do the job you want before you have it. But I want to get paid on a commission basis. If you're a guy that wants a salary out there, wrong choice. The salary plus commission is still even wrong. I believe that you are the value that you put into something. So you can build that commission-based structure and scale teams very easily if the opportunity is fun and there's opportunity to earn from integrity-based and honesty standpoint, for sure.
I appreciate that. And I look forward in the short term to have a conversation offline with you, no doubt about it.
Sure.
David, back to you, brother.
Yeah. And so Todd, from a from a visionary perspective, right? You obviously are experiencing wild success. When did you identify that you wanted to take it also? Because we were talking about social media based marketing. When did you realize you wanted to take it to podcast, right? Talk a little bit about Gut Check, or Gut Punch. What is it? I'm so sorry.
Gut Check Uncut. Yeah. So it's funny. I came up with the name. I remember Gut Check Uncut, and it was me, just myself originally. And I brought in my partner, Brandon Biscuit, who is just a massive addition to Gut Check Uncut. And I'll tell you the real reason why I started Gut Check Uncut. That first event I went to out in LA, they told me you're going to be on this big stage with all these huge speakers, like I said earlier. I get there on a Friday and they go, you're speaking Friday. And I go, wait, but the event's Saturday. They go, no, the event is Friday and Saturday. Now remember, I flew from Orlando to LA. Okay, on my wife's birthday to get an opportunity to speak with Steinbrenner and Ashton Kutcher and all these guys. And I get there and I was speaking at a VIP dinner. And the stage was, I shit you not, it had to be max 6x6 little box. Right?
Yeah.
And I remember that there were so many people after I got done speaking at the event, and what I said at the event, we could talk about afterwards, long story, but I called a lot of people out because they weren't respecting the speakers. I remember looking up at the ceiling and telling my father, I go, the problem with a VIP dinner event is the round tables, right? So someone's back is always to the stage, which if you've ever had an event, guys, don't do that. It's the worst idea ever, right?
Yeah.
So, I tell people that there was plates clanking because it was a dinner while speakers were talking all this other shit. And here I am, like third to last speaker. And I remember getting on stage. I was like, don't do it. And I get on stage and I looked up at my father and I said, well, Dad, this is it, right? You wanted me to be me, so I'm going to be me. Nobody knew my name. And I got the microphone and I go, hello, is this thing on? And the whole crowd that paid $10,000 a seat turns around and they're like, who is this guy, right? They're like, where's this guy staying? And I said, hey, I just want to make sure you guys can hear me, right? And because they introduced my name, like nobody turned around, right? Which I get because I wasn't anybody. But I remember telling them, I said, I was making sure the microphone was on. And I remember telling them, I said, now that I have everybody's attention, there's a couple things I want to go over. Number one, I want to thank the wait staff because no speaker before me thanked the wait staff and the service for the amazing service we've had tonight. And then number two, I want to thank the speakers before me who spoke, and there was like 10 of them, because I don't think that they got the respect that they deserved while they were on stage. Imagine there's a lot of people talking, and I go, and I want to make sure you guys can hear this. One more time, did it really loud, and the whole place was, well, I would say about 3/4 of the place turned around. And then I said, there's only two things that I think that could have happened prior to me getting on stage. You didn't listen or turn around because A, you think you know everything, or B, you have too much money to care. Which one was it?
Wow. And
I just paused. And as we know in speaking, silence is massive, right? And so sometimes as speakers, we want to run our mouth so much that there's a fluidity to speaking that you need to take that pause and you need to kind of relax because pausing is powerful, right? Voice inflection, as you said earlier, tonality, etc. And it's funny that, we talk about this because I knew that there were speakers there that weren't doing the right thing. So when you talk about Gut Check Uncut, after I spoke at the event, there was tons of people coming up to me, right? And I didn't know if I did good or bad. They were offering me free speaking opportunities, which they say that they normally charge people. They want to get my name out there and blah, 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 all this bullshit, right? And I'm from the streets, so the first thing I think of is what's the catch, right? That's what I always think of. I always think of the negative. What's the catch, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I remember talking to this guy and he tells me, he says, hey, Todd, dude, I got an opportunity for you. And I got to tell you, I heard your speech last night. You should have been on the big stage, right? But it was amazing. And I only coach 5 people a year, but I got to tell you something. He goes, here's the cool thing about this. And before I tell you the price, don't be like, whoa, like this, right? Because it's worth it. But I only coach 5 people. It's $125,000. But dude, let me tell you something. If you get my coaching, I'll make you millions. I'll make you millions of dollars. And I said, and I'm like, okay, so here I go, because I'm the sales guy, right? So I had to mess with him. So I go, millions. I go, you mean like I'm gonna be a millionaire? Like you're gonna make me millions. This is what I do, Todd. I am the best in the world, Todd. Trust me, you fell into the right hands. Timing is always perfection. When it comes to people that I coach, and I'm gonna make you the best. So I said, okay. I said, so I'm gonna make a deal for you. I said, if you know, and you said, like, I'm guaranteed to make millions, right? He says, yeah. I go, here's the deal. I'm going to make a deal with you. Instead of me charging, or you charging me $125,000 because I don't have it, I'm going to give you 30%
I love it.
of the millions of dollars that you
Love
said
it.
you could make me.
Yep.
And he goes, well, that's not how we're never. Wait a second. Now I'm good at math. I go, so even if we just made 1 million instead of millions plural, like you said, that's still 300 grand, which in my math is 2.25, 225% bigger than what you're trying to charge me for, right? And he goes, well, yeah. And I said, here's the deal. I will not work with you if there's an upfront cost. So he goes, well, that's not how I go. Thank you so much for your time. As I'm walking away, grabs my arm, which again, from New York, from the streets, first of all, you don't grab my arm walking away, but he grabs my arm and he says to me, he goes, what if I made you a deal? It's only, we'll do it for 100,000. And all you gotta do is give me $10,000 down now. And then you give me 10,000 a month for the next 9 months. And we'll call it even, right? And I go, here's another deal. Cause I was new to the speaking industry and I wanted to invest in myself. I'll give you $2,500 and I'll give you 50% of all of my earnings. Because if you believe that I'm going to make millions like you said that I would, that's a no-brainer deal that you got to take. Mm-hmm. No. And I said, sir, I want to thank you. And he said, for what? He goes, you didn't even take my deal. And I go, because I'm going to say yes to everybody that you said no to that you're trying to rob. And I walked away. So what I realized is at that event in LA, with all of those amazing people that there are peer speakers out there, coaches, salespeople, speakers, so many of them are so full of shit and such a shady industry that they were robbing people. So Gut Check was created originally until I spent a shit ton of money on an attorney who told me not to do it for defamation of character and slander. I was going to call out all the thieves in the world that I knew were thieves. And I was getting messages from people telling me about how they're getting robbed for people that were creating apps, that were creating, training platforms that they never did. They would take the money and they would run. They would never talk to these people. So Gut Check was spawned from that originally. Then I realized about a year later that I could help more people by getting good information from good people doing the right thing and impact lives rather than calling out the assholes, right?
Love that.
So Gut Check was changed. I brought on Brandon, who was my co-host to Gut Check, and we're two different dudes. He's like the computer tech kind of really cool, swaggy geek a little bit. But he's a brilliant human being, one of the best sales guys on the planet, and he cares about people probably more than anyone. And then you have me. I'm the tattooed guy that nobody thought would make it. And we've become very, very tight. And we've created a platform that people love, and it's scaled tremendously. So we're super, super blessed to have that show.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that journey, by the way. And thank you for sharing that experience. Quick question, because I missed the beginning. Well, you're from New York? Which part of New York? Is that correct?
Rochester.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up in between Henrietta and Pittsburgh off Pinnacle Drive.
Is that near you?
Yeah, well, that's where my father's from.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. It's rugged there.
And now you live down in Florida, correct?
Yeah, I live in Orlando. Yes, sir.
Hey, listen, I don't know if you're going to be, how far is that from Miami? A couple hours?
About 4. Yeah, about 4 hours. Yeah.
Got a big event coming up down there November 20th and 21st for American Foundation for the Blind charity gala. I'll talk to you offline about it, but
do that. Reach out to me. Yeah.
No doubt about it. But I want to talk to you about the recruiting thing anyway. Listen, I know it's 7:53 and his energy is incredible. I'd love if anybody has any questions.
No doubt.
To be able to spend some one-on-one time with Todd and be able to ask any questions.
Absolutely. No doubt. So if anybody has a question for Todd, we want to be respectful of Todd's time. So if you have a question for Todd, please put it in the chat or go ahead and raise your hand or unmute yourself and put it out there for a question for Todd. Couple moments here. Okay. How did you hire? Oh, this is a great one. This comes in from Nikhil Bond. This is, how did you hire your first sales agent?
Oh, good question. By not asking the right questions and hoping instead of knowing, right? So, it's funny when we start hiring salespeople and we start hiring, you would like to think skilled salespeople, as a company, and you want to grow. You think that just anybody. I had a conversation with a guy named Kevin, who is, a guy that I have the luxury of working with. And he says to me, some people just want heartbeats because they can believe everybody's trainable. What companies don't realize is that the amount of time you spend trying to train someone who's not a right fit, who doesn't have the right core values that the company has, it's wasted money and it costs you a ton of money to retain. So I made the wrong decision just by hiring someone because they said they were amazing at sales. So I learned from that and realized that a vetting process is important. I mean, you got to know that these people are in alignment with what you and your company want to do. And if they're not, I don't care if they're the best salespeople in the world. The biggest piece of advice for any company is that most companies, the top 20% of your salespeople consist of 80% of the company's revenue, right? And those are the top people that are crushing. So a lot of people are afraid to get rid of that top 20%, these companies that are making a lot of money, because they're like, dude, that's the money in my pocket. Well, they don't realize that one cancer could be the number one salesperson in your company, can ruin opportunity for the rest of the people. So my advice in hiring the salespeople is just do a vetting process and make sure that they align with your core values.
Awesome.
Next question comes in from David Hammer. What kind of legacy would you like to leave in the world?
Oof. You know, it's funny. I literally get the chills when I'm asked this question every time. You know, I didn't know what the legacy that I wanted to leave until my dad had passed away. And, you know, I remember laying next to my dad when he told me to write my book and et cetera. And I remember the day before he passed away, I'm holding my father's arm like this. And I talked about this on stage when I was on stage with Les Brown. And I said, my dad couldn't hear me. They have him all drugged up. And he says, I told him, I said, hey, Dad, you know, I'm going to write the book. I'm going to speak on stage. I'm going to change and I'm going to impact lives. I'm going to help people realize that they can win. And I didn't know he could hear me. And I got 2 squeezes like this as his arm is on mine. And I get emotional even thinking about it now. But it's crazy how one moment like this, two squeezes lit a fire under me that really allowed me to see who I needed to become. I needed to become the person that's going to impact lives, whether there was money attached to it or not. And what I realized is that leaving a legacy of impacting lives in a positive way, helping people when they're down and continuing to help them rise when they're up, clapping for people when they win was a legacy that I wanted to leave. And it's funny when you do that and you actually aren't the asshole who doesn't share the sales skills and doesn't, you know, a lot of top reps don't want to share their secrets and tricks because, you know, when you're the person that does and you actually care about people, that legacy will allow you to earn more money than you can ever imagine. You're not even trying to do it. So I want to leave a legacy of impacting lives and knowing that I made a difference.
But outstanding answer. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for getting emotional.
Absolutely. Todd, you got a couple more minutes because we got a couple more questions coming in.
Sure.
One of them comes back from Nikhil. It's, I'd love to see you live. When is your next live event?
Yeah, so I'm in Orlando, October 14th, October 28th. I'm speaking for the Osceola Realtors Convention here in Orlando. And I've got 2 events that we're working on signing those deals in November as well. But if you guys like, I'm going to post them on my website. If you just go to toddspeciale.com, you'll have all the events there. You guys can see what's coming next.
Fantastic. This one comes in from Parker Russo.
Parker Russo.
Yes, sir. Who are some of the...
He's a millennial, by the way.
Yes, he is. He's as millennial as they get. I love him. Who are some
by
of
the
the...
way, Parker, just so you know, sorry, Parker, I brought him to the gala last week, $10,000 ticket, just so you know. And his job was to take pictures of me when I was speaking to people. Next thing I know, I look over and he's talking to all the celebrities on his own. Because Parker is a celebrity in his own right. Yes. It was a great teaching moment.
Oh, man. Yep. He comes in and he asks, who are some of the success leaders you mirror and model in your life?
Yeah. So I will tell you this. So number one, my mentor is Danelle Delgado. It's not Danielle. Danelle Delgado. Okay. Danelle. Oh, sorry.
Hey, yeah. Hey, Danny, do me a favor. Go ahead and just go ahead and mute Gaffard there for a moment. Gaffard, we're just going to put you on mute there for a second, brother. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny.
Go for it.
So
sorry about that.
Delgado is my mentor, and she is a champion. She has just impacted more lives than anybody I know. I'm probably one of the most real person that you'll ever meet, period. That's it. Another guy by the name of Jason Cisneros, who's an awesome dude who has a company called Anton J. Jason Cisneros is awesome. These are people and probably names. Danelle is huge right now, and she is continuing to scale and so deserving of that. Jason is kind of he does a great job speaking, and he's a brilliant mind. He doesn't really care about social media and stuff like that because he's got not enough money not to care, but he's just a great person. So these may not be people that you have heard of, but Danelle Delgado taught me a long time ago one of the major rules for me.
Todd, hold on. I heard something amazing. Write down 10 things every morning that you're grateful for, plus 3 goals.
Yes.
Check it at the end of the night.
Yeah. And the 3 goals need to be attainable, by the way. One of the hardest things for me to learn that Danelle taught me was that the 10 things that you're grateful for, it can be some similar things. I challenge you to think of different things every day. It's harder than you think. But it's easy when you get the hang of it. And you can repeat the same things, like, your children, your wives, and other stuff like that. But you want to get creative on things that you're thankful for that you're having. The ability to read, see, hear, listen, eat, right, by yourself, have hands, feet, whatever, right? But the 3 goals, the most important thing, that I learned from the 3 goals is that you want to make sure that it's an attainable goal for that day. Not like I want to be a millionaire, right? Yeah. In the insurance sales, I want to write, 20,000 annual life premium today, whatever, right? You want to do something, right? But something that is attainable, and then revisit it at night before you go to bed and make the adjustments to hit those goals the following day. And that's something I learned from Danelle that I'll never forget and I'll never stop doing.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a deep level monitoring and measuring.
All day. The last one coming in because we want to be in time integrity for you, Todd. This comes in from our friend who has just rejoined us, Stephen Wirtz. Welcome back, Stephen. Happy to have you here, brother. I don't know everything, he says, but I don't have enough money not to care. What was your career breakthrough moment? I love that.
It was funny. When I really realized what I wanted to do in life was when I was running a team in the timeshare industry. And I remember that there was a young kid who'd been through a lot in life, and he had come up, and he wasn't the best salesperson, but he asked me to help him. He wasn't on my team. And so I started helping him. And in the first, I would say 3 months, I was training teams on how to sell timeshare. I'd never done it before. And I remember sitting down with a group of people. And one of the directors who that was my boss at the time, comes over to me and he says, "Hey, Todd, you got a phone call downstairs." And I said, "Okay." So I go downstairs and there's no phone call. And I go, "Dude, what are you doing?" "I'm trying to help these people. There's like 20 people, upstairs, and I'm trying to assist." And he goes, "They're not on your team and they're not going to do shit for you. So why would you help them?"
Wow.
So I realized that, when you're let's say a top salesperson, whether you're lying, good, not, whatever, the consensus is don't share your information because they might outperform you. Yeah. They're scared, right? Don't give them the tools and there is no tricks, but don't give them the skill. My breakthrough moment was then, because I realized that I want to help all the people that other people don't want to help. I want to be the guy that gives everything that I have to help people succeed. And that kid that was there one day came to me and he said, "Yeah, I didn't know this, but he took a bus, 3 buses to get to work every day. And he was homeless for about 7 months. That kid, his first year working with me, not 4, but made $118,000 in the timeshare industry. And I realized that I don't want to be the type of leader that doesn't change lives. I want to be impacting and I want to be helping people on a constant basis. But I'm not going to do it from a greed standpoint. I don't care if they're on my team or off my team. And it's funny because I would have these trainings at this timeshare place, and 100 people would show up, 200 people would show up, and the timeshare company would have a mandatory training, and then maybe 10 people would show up. So they would not go to the mandatory training, but they'd all come to mine from all different resorts all over the place because I was willing to share information. That was a turning point for me, that I knew that my goal in life was to help people that grew up in very humble beginnings like me, or rich as shit when they were younger, create a life of abundance by impacting lives. And if I can do that, then I know I've won.
Brother, you're a student of the game, no doubt about it. And you're manifesting it every day for all of us to see. Thank you for sharing everything today. I look forward to having a private potential conversation as far as ecosystem merger. Did you want to share anything else? And Todd, I can't thank you enough for your time tonight.
I can't yet. Can't thank you enough, guys. Again, Success Leaves Clues. Podcast is Gut Check Uncut. CEO of Make Sales Great Again. This is Todd Speciale. And Todd, what would you leave right before we finish up tonight? What would you leave for all the aspiring salespeople that are out there, right? Just leave them with one last golden nugget, brother, in terms of pursuing their dreams, doing it with integrity. Drop the mic.
Yeah. So, it's funny that we've been on a podcast for an hour and 10 minutes, whatever, right? And I look at a time frame, and people don't realize that what we hear, we only retain about 30% of when we get off this podcast, right? Which is the reason why it's good that you guys record this. You can play it over again. In 2 weeks, you're going to remember 5% of 10%. That's just that's what it is, right? Yep. And people don't realize this. So I'm going to say it again because it's the most important thing that I live by. If you're in sales, mark my words, you will make way more money and be way more successful if you do it from a very honest and integrity-based standpoint. It's what makes sales great again was created by, it's teaching people to lead and sell with honesty and integrity. There's a lot of people that cut corners, don't do it. Don't lie to people. Don't judge them. Don't stretch anything. A lot of people say, I want to stay in the gray. Okay, there's some gray area that's okay, and there's some that isn't. But you want to do it the right way because you'll get more referrals. Your sales, again, a lot of companies will write business and they'll cancel within a certain cancellation period. In the financial industry has created more millionaires than any business out there by far. The biggest problem with the financial industry and renewals is that if you're not pitching from an integrity-based standpoint, you're going to lose the deals that you're selling. So why are you lying to them?
Exactly.
Write a smaller deal, be honest with them, and keep the deals.
Exactly.
You're in the financial industry to retire, to live off your renewals. That's the goal, right? So sell from an honesty and integrity-based standpoint every single time, and I promise you, your lives will change.
Oh yeah.
Drop the mic on that. We are InfinityX, where every Tuesday we give a stage and microphone to human excellence. Todd Speciale.
Major shout out to our partner Wayne Rice.
Major shout outs. Yep, absolute major shout out to Wayne Rice. Wayne is on here tonight. Yep. And every single Tuesday we're bringing value. Todd Speciale, you have brought nugget after nugget. We see you in our future, brother. Can't wait to, co-create and have conversation.
One of my more exciting interviews, just so you know. I appreciate it, Todd. You brought it tonight, no doubt about it.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it very much. Thank you guys for having me.
Pat, thank you for being with us, Todd. And until next week, folks, we are InfinityX. We will see you next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Again, this was Todd Speciale. Replays on YouTube. Replay is on Facebook. Or message us if you'd like to have a conversation or conversation with Todd, conversation with us. We look forward to seeing you guys next week on another session of We Are InfinityX. We are InfinityX.com.